Hi, hello, and what's up, guys? I'm Jex-the-NoteBook-Guy, and I just wanted to talk for a bit because I don't understand how Dungeons and Dragons, why people think it is the equivalent of a game. Because they say, you can win in it, and you can lose in it, I guess, but trying to play to win is not fun, and so people don't do that. They just try to have fun. But even if there was no winning and losing, it's still a game. So let's look at tag. Does tag have a win? No. See, the rules of tag, as everyone probably knows if you know how to play tag, is you have one group of people, group A, and one person who is going to be, let's just make a square, and he's going to be in group B. And group B, he is it. Group A, these are, well, I don't know what you'd call them, the other players. Players are like participants, but they're playing something. They're having fun. I don't know what player is supposed to mean. And so the goal is for the players is to not get tagged, because if they get tagged, they become it. But here's the thing: if you become it, do you win or you lose? What's happening? Is there a winning and losing? Completely confusing, but let's take a look at Rainbow Six Siege for a moment. You probably have no idea what the hell that is, but whatever. So, Rainbow Six Siege, the way the matches work is you have two sides, obviously two teams, and you have the attackers versus the defenders. And because I've been doing Rainbow Six Siege recently, so I'm bringing it up, even though I suck. You have the attackers, you have the defenders, and you have this sort of match counter thing. So once a certain condition is met, they'll swap sides. But after they reach a certain amount of points, kind of like tennis and whatnot, they'll have the match point where if they make another point, which reaches that point, they win. However, let's pretend that they didn't win. Let's say they win just that one match. But winning that one match doesn't count as winning the game. You have to get to that certain point. And in fact, it's actually like regular tennis and whatnot. So look at air hockey for a more basic example. So you have your air hockey pucks, excuse my terrible drawing, and you have, you're trying to guard, and there's a little counter in the side that shows what your score is. When you get one through it, that does not count as winning the game. It just counts as making a point to go on the score. The thing about tag is there is no point system in it at all. So, is it a game or is it not a game? I don't know. Well, let's say tag is a game. Okay? We're going to say tag is a game. So, tag doesn't have a win. Tag doesn't have a lose. But what does it have that other games have? Well, it has rules. And it has players. These players are following these rules. So, for the instance of it versus not it, step one is one person is assigned to be it at the start of the game. Whereas everyone else who is not it becomes not it. And then it starts. That's how you find out who's it. You have to pick who's it first. There always has to be an it first. You can't have it without an it. So, under the rules, I should have just did that, whatever. Anyways, under the rules, you would have it so that there is always an it. And there is always people that aren't it. So, always it, and always not it. So that's in the rules. Then the other rule is that when it tags, which tag is just a certain thing that they call it tagging when you tap someone on the shoulder. So the rule would be you're not tapping someone in the face, you're not tapping someone on the leg. I mean, maybe you could do the leg, I don't know, but you don't want to smack them in the face. So they'd be like, you don't do this. That's in the rules too, the do's and the don'ts. So they need to tag them in the allowed area, which is pretty much, for example, we'll just say shoulder, so or back. Smack them on the back. Bang, tag. Once they're tagged, they become it. And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going until people decide to just quit the game. But there is no winning and there is no losing, so you don't have to have winning and losing to play a game. Which means that sandboxes are still games, I guess. I don't know what a game's supposed to be. Maybe a game is supposed to involve playing. Maybe it's just called playing. Maybe it's like to play the only noun for play is when you're watching something in like a theater, right? Sorry if I'm improvising a lot, because I'm improvising a lot. So I'm probably very terrible at talking about this. Yes. Just a rant. So in a play, when you're watching a theater, you see the play going on. You're watching something. It's kind of like TV, but it's live and blah blah blah, and real people. But that's the noun version of a play. But because that's already taken, you can't do it anymore. I don't know. But so the noun version of when you're playing something. So when you have a player that is playing a game, so the activity they are doing is going to be called a game. But the difference between something like drawing a picture versus Pictionary is, let's see. Okay, so I should have did that again. Or whatever. So let's look at Pictionary versus non-Pictionary. You draw a picture. Okay, that's an activity, kind of like doing a puzzle. So you draw a picture. Blue, 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 la, do, do, do. Just draw a picture. Okay. Versus drawing a picture and people have to try to guess what it is. It's more involved, whereas this one's more individual. Everyone's just drawing their own little picture, la da do. And you maybe want to show, hey, I made this picture, you made that picture, la da do. We all made these pictures. However, in here, someone's making a picture, but then other people are trying to do something. So it feels like the way games work is there needs to be two sides. They're not necessarily the winners and the losers, or not. I mean, that doesn't make sense because they're not winners and losers. They're two teams. So it's like there's two groups, always two groups it seems. So, for instance, you could have a player and then you could have the computer, the AI. Those are your two teams. The AI has its own tricks to try to defeat you. It's like the whole phrase where it's player versus environment, which I always thought was enemy, and player versus player. It's always two sides. Two sides going against each other. But it's not necessarily any bad meaning behind it. For instance, the example of tag, there's nothing violent about tag. You're just bonking someone in the back. I mean, that kind of considered violence, but it's just part of the thing. It's not violence because you're not smacking in the face, which will hurt them, most likely. Or the private area for, other reasons and whatnot. So, if tag is a game, then games don't involve winning and losing, which makes sense for single player games to exist, because the only losing in single player games is when you just give up and don't play the game, because you can keep going and going and going. Sure, you can lose, you can do a mission and then fail it, but does that count as losing? Is failing the same as losing? Because I don't know. I don't think so anymore. So we should probably work on trying to make games that are like Tag, where they don't have a win and a lose. Because then we can have more possibilities. So this is why I like games, why they're fascinating for me. The difference between a picture, a text, so text and a picture, and then you put them together to make comics. Your pictures you look at, the text you read, which you can kind of visualize, and the pictures help visualize and sort of animates. It's kind of like watching a movie or whatever for comics, I don't know. But the difference between that and games is that games is so much more. Because games involves the music. So it involves the music, the pictures, the sound. There's just so many different sensory things in games. And then you have the whole rules, where all games have rules. I'm talking about video games now, sorry. So you have all the rules and whatnot. But the introduction for video games versus outdoor games and like board tabletop push games, whatever you want to call them, tabletop, just to say boards and card games and stuff. The difference in that is that outdoor games, you're limited by yourself and anybody else around you. Tabletop, you have more creative freedom for making your game, but it also involves other people, unless you want to make it single player, but still very limited. Whereas video games, you have a ton more freedom and more artistic expression, if you want to say that. So that's why I like video games. And that's also why I think Tag is a game, and now I have to admit, even if Dungeons and Dragons you play not to win, it's still a game if there is two sides, where in this case, I'm assuming it's the game master and then the players, or like the dealer in a card game. I don't know if it really counts that though. But there's two sides, and the objective is to have fun, I guess. I don't know. I still wouldn't do Dungeons and Dragons, because the discussion about mana is for another day. I don't like this word. It's in the Bible, yet it's in games, and it's used completely differently, and it's just, what the heck is wrong with people? But whatever. They just say energy, power. I don't know where it came from. But whatever. So this is Jex-the-NoteBook-Guy saying I'll see you guys later. I might play games. I have no idea. I'm kind of bored. Bye.